Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant Tuesday. Let's make it a terrific Tuesday. Why not? 7 minutes after the hour. You're with us early this morning, and we're going to get straight into the politics this morning because there's plenty to talk about. We're going to do that with John Truscott. John Truscott is the president of the Truscott-Rossman Group. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael Patrick.
We're ready to get after it this morning. Ready to talk politics?
I guess so. It's pretty early, but let's go for it.
Donald Trump seems always ready to go for it. Now he is saying that President Barack Obama was a poor student who didn't deserve to be admitted to the Ivy League universities. You know, he's thinking about running for the Republican nomination for president. He offered no proof to his claim, but he said he's going to press the matter. Just as he's pressing the matter of the legitimacy of the president's birth certificate, he says, quote, "I have friends who have smart sons with great marks, great boards, great everything, and they can't get into Harvard. We don't know a thing about this guy. There are a lot of questions that are unanswered about our president." Do you think that Donald Trump, when he throws around firebombs like this, is just doing it to get attention, or can he really sustain a run at the nomination by just taking shots at Obama ceaselessly?
Well, no, I don't think he can get the nomination by just launching pure attacks. But I will say he's probably one of the most brilliant marketers of our day. I mean, you look, everything that he says is broadcast and published everywhere. I mean, I don't know of anybody else in America besides maybe Oprah that can get this kind of attention for just making statements, some which may be legitimate and some may be pretty wild, but he does get the attention. But at some point when you run for president, the people want to know what you're going to do for them. So, you know, I guess if you use kind of a military analogy, what you're trying to do is soften up the opposition at this point so you can come through with the heart attacks and really put something forward that allows you to move forward and be aggressive and stay on offense. Let's
say that Donald Trump called you. I mean, you were Governor Engler's spokesperson for 3 terms. You ran the DeVos campaign. You ran the Hoekstra campaign. Let's say he called you and said, "I got to make a decision here. What should I do? Should I make a run at it or should I not?" And then further, the next question is, if he makes a run at it, okay, fine. If he doesn't, how does he get out of it in a way that preserves this aura that he's built up?
Well, I mean, you hit the nail on the head in that he's kind of walking himself into a position where he almost has to run. I've heard from people who know him or know people that know him when he started this whole thing, they said, "Oh, no, he's not going to run. This is all just for the Trump Enterprises publicity, basically." Mm-hmm. And now they're starting to say, you know, he just may be crazy enough to do it and pull it off. So it sounds from people who know him like he's almost talking himself into it. So I really think either he's got some brilliant out strategy, which I wouldn't put past him, or he's pretty close to saying, "I think I can do this thing."
Yeah, but doesn't he destroy his image if he goes in the nomination and doesn't get it or gets drummed out after a couple of primaries? Then what?
Well, here's a guy who's been through a lot of ups and downs. If you've read any of his books, he talks about filing for bankruptcy and begging the banks for more time and different structures and things like that. So, I mean, he has fallen down and gotten back up in a very, very big way. So, you know, I wouldn't put anything past him. I mean, he is probably better than the Barnum and Bailey of our time. I mean, he's getting the attention. Everybody's hanging on every word. Some people love him, some people hate him, but he is generating that type of attention that I don't know if anybody else right now in America can do.
If he wanted an out, if it was all for publicity, is there something that you can imagine that he can say that people around the world would say, "Oh, yeah, I can see why he's not running"?
Well, he could use the typical, "I want to spend more time with my family," you know, that every politician uses when they step down from office. You know, I think he would talk about needing to spend more time focusing on his business and that he has found a candidate. By him being out there doing what he's doing, a candidate has emerged that he can support and get behind, and that's what he's going to do. That would probably be the most graceful way out.
Ooh, that would be a big endorsement, though. I mean,
it sure would be. And I assume it would come with a lot of publicity, with a lot of attention, and give whoever that candidate would be, who I'm assuming would have a political background or some experience in the field, give them a very, very big boost. Now, keep in mind, Iowa and New Hampshire and those primaries are a completely different animal. They sometimes go different ways. It's not necessarily the consensus candidate, so that influences things quite a bit, and I don't know how those primary voters, who tend to be very, very conservative, I don't know how they would react to a Trump endorsement. So that's something that has to be weighed in, or maybe Donald Trump waits until after New Hampshire and Iowa, so you get past that phase, and then they go on to somebody else. But he's making it interesting, if nothing else. It was kind of muddling along, and his involvement, his bomb throwing, and almost weekly statements are making this a very exciting race.
Yeah, I can't imagine him endorsing anyone from my own standpoint, and here's why. If that person loses, it's even worse that they got the Trump approval and they couldn't get it over the line. If he's going to take the hit, he might as well take it for himself, I guess. And you're right. I don't know if he can stand to be out of the spotlight. I got a couple of other candidates here that I want to ask you about. Turns out that Haley Barbour has decided he's not going to be a candidate for president. He made the announcement yesterday. Why didn't that dog hunt?
When you look at how difficult it is to run for president, how much money you have to raise, at this point, the year and a half on the road, he's a very, very good governor. I think he likes that job. I think he's doing a very, very good job at it. And when you look at basically leaving your state in the hands of somebody else, walking away from that commitment that you made to your voters, it's a very, very difficult decision. Not to mention the fact that running for president is the most difficult thing that any politician could ever do. So, when you add all those things up, if you really don't have the fire in the belly, and this isn't something you planned for a long time, it's a pretty difficult task, which makes his decision a pretty logical one.
Yeah, and in his statement, he allows for the fact that it's a 10-year commitment, 10 years of all-consuming effort, meaning the 2 years to get elected, and presumably 8 years after that if you're going to get elected president and then go for the re-elect too. And as you say, he doesn't have the fire in the belly for that. He, too, would be an entertaining candidate, though, if he could have just stayed in there through the primaries, because he's a terrific debater, and he would have added some color to the race.
He's irreverent. He's funny. He's smart. I think he would have made it very exciting, and I think people would have tuned in just to see what he's going to say next.
I know I would have. I think I told you before, I spent a weekend with him and his wife, Marcia, down in Mississippi at the casino playing golf and having some branch water in the evening, and he was a very good storyteller, very fun.
He's a great storyteller, and he's a great guy. I've spent quite a bit of time with him, too.
Yeah.
He's very likable.
Hey, let's
very
go
smart.
See him then and cheer him up.
I like that idea. Okay. When do you want to go?
As soon as humanly possible.
Yeah.
John Truscott at the Truscott Group. Thanks for the chat this morning. It's not the Truscott Group anymore, though. It's Truscott Rossman. He's the president, and Kelly Rossman is his partner. And, of course, we'll be seeing lots of them on Mackinac Island for the Detroit Regional Chamber Policy Conference. We'll be broadcasting live from that. We're broadcasting live this morning from the American Metal Roof Studio in the Gillespie Group Stadium District building. Well, the unmistakable sound of NFL films, and that may be all we have this fall if there's no NFL season. Perish the thought, though. Some of us break out into a cold sweat and our stomach flips upside down and we shiver and shake at the thought of no National Football League. Well, it looks like yesterday a judge has ruled not only in favor of the players, but in favor of us. U.S. District Court Judge Susan Nelson ruled in favor of the players. They argue they're being harmed by the owner's 6-week lockout. And the contention is that, hey, football players have short careers as it is. They only have a limited amount of time to earn money. And it's the shortest professional career, I think, of all because of the violence and the smashing and banging. The ruling also agrees, ready for this, the lockout hurts football fans who have an investment in the 2011 season. Now the league is going to take its case to the Court of Appeals, so we don't know what happens next. This is all because the collective bargaining collapsed between the owners and the players. And Ken Delafour, who has successfully gone from being a superstar NFL player to a superstar in business, the senior vice president of group sales and corporate marketing for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, once wore the Honolulu blue and the black of the Pittsburgh Steelers and the blue of the San Diego Chargers, and even the champagne and plum of the Michigan Panthers is on the other end of our line right now. Good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Michael Patrick.
Well, what do you make of this? I don't want to get too excited, but the judge seems to have ruled in favor of the players, and at least there's a chance the lockout could end, huh?
Well, it sounds that way, and the fact that there is a ruling that's kind of nice. It seemed like there was no progress by either side or any direction. So I think this is positive in getting them back to the table and talking about what needs to get resolved so they can get on with the draft, the football season, and really the fans that do have an investment, whether the stadiums, et cetera, that they've put their money and heart into.
Yeah, round one of the draft is going to be in prime time on Thursday, 8 o'clock, and then the second and third rounds will be Friday at 6 p.m. This all takes place in New York City at Radio City Music Hall. It's a 3-day draft now because 4 through 7 are on Saturday if you haven't had enough of it by then. And I saw some rumblings that the Lions might be looking for a receiver. Do you have any idea where you think the Lions should go in this draft? And it seems kind of silly to talk about it because we don't know what's going to happen, but we'll talk about it anyway.
Certainly, and Martin Mayhew was on TV the other day, and he said it's funny, all these mock drafts. He said they're not sure which way they're going. When you have a later pick, like the 13th pick or so, you kind of not sure what's going to be on the board. I think if you looked at what would be kind of interesting would be to pick up a real cover corner. It would allow Gunther Cunningham and that defense to do some real interesting things with that front seven that they now have. That seems to be one of the upper echelon of NFL. So I think a corner would be a great pick, but they have lots of needs. So they're kind of in a good position because they have lots of needs, I guess. They can pick the best player on the board.
Let me ask you this. Cam Newton was interviewed by John Gruden. You've probably heard about this by now. John Gruden, the former NFL coach, now working for the network and sort of a journalist. And he asked Cam Newton to call a play because his point was in the NFL it's pretty complicated when you get in the huddle and you hear some of these plays. They're paragraph long. And he said, give me an idea of a play that you called at Auburn. And Cam Newton, the star quarterback, basically couldn't give him one. He said, "Oh, you got me stumped. I can't really, I don't really have an answer." Would that frighten you if you were the Carolina Panthers thinking of drafting him, that he can't even call him? Maybe it was a simple system at Auburn, I don't know, but does that disturb you?
Well, it certainly raised some concerns. And each team, depending on the coach and their playbook, the plays, it's like different languages for each coach and playbook. There's some commonality amongst them, but you would think he could at least play back some of his Auburn experience, or and the fact that he's a top pick. He's been through a lot of teams. He could have recited some of that back. I'm sure Matthew Stafford could have a few years back. So yeah, it does raise concerns that he couldn't come up with a play.
Well, I mean, if you look at it a little further, I guess Auburn had a very simple system where play 28 was play 28. That's all there was to it. Is it possible a big-time college football program could run like that? Someone would hold up a card on the sideline that says 20, and you run play 20?
Well, everybody, the 11 guys in the huddle would have to know what play 28 was and what it meant to their respective position. I would find that hard to believe, but it might be.
It seems like the other people on the sideline would be able to catch on, too, unless they had 5 guys holding up different numbers. And you know, it's like baseball, the second signal after the indicator.
Yeah. Well, when you have your left tackle bunting when he's supposed to be stealing a base, you got a problem with that system.
Well, I get the feeling maybe the play was Cam Newton drop back, Cam Newton run. That's pretty much what they did all season, didn't they?
Well, with success, they won the national title. So it worked in that case, but I think, to your point, it won't work in the NFL, and it won't bode well for him if he's not sophisticated enough to handle all of the expectations of being an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, well, Gruden said it's going to be like you're moving to France and you're going to have to learn French if you need to learn the language of the NFL. That's the part I guess I thought was. And Martin Mayhew says as far as the quarterbacks go for the Lions, he's happy with Matthew Stafford, Shaun Hill, and Drew Stanton. Are you happy with that lineup of quarterbacks?
Absolutely, I am. I think the second and third last year proved to be very valuable and stepped up and played well. So I would say they're pretty secure at that position, and hopefully Matthew comes back healthy and stays healthy.
Okay, as a former NFL player, you happy with the idea of a rookie salary cap? Yes or no?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I think it's gotten out of hand, and I think they should spread those dollars out to proven players that have stepped up and delivered, as opposed to somebody who's got potential coming out of college.
Are you happy with the idea of an 18-game schedule instead of 16-game?
As a fan, I am. As a player, I think the players just want to get paid for 18 games, not 16, and have their 16-game salary spread out over 18 games.
Okay, that's his honor, Ken Delafour, settling the NFL labor situation. We'll see you soon. Ken Delafour, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, played for 3 NFL teams, 1 USFL team. 26 minutes after the hour, it's Michael Patrick Shields all across the state of Michigan. Get out of Syria. If you're listening online and you're an American, we're going to Syria as soon as we get back. And with the anchorman, Gary Austin. Good morning, Gary.
Well, good morning. This update is service of American Metal Roofs. Check out the website, AmericanMetalRoofs.com, and you'll never, ever have to worry again about the weather with a beautiful, guaranteed American Metal Roof atop your house. All right, across the state, while we were sleeping, those who have the job of changing the signs out front of those gasoline stations, they were busy. If you haven't noticed already, you will when you head to the office. A sizable price jump in what we've got to pay. Virtually everywhere in the state, the price is now over $4 a gallon. In some cases, close to $4.20 now. By the way, the record was set in 2008 at $4.21 a gallon, and the experts say we are well on our way to shattering that one. Last year at this time, did you know we were paying right around $3 a gallon? So quite a jump in the last year or so. Governor Snyder, he's getting ready for a big talk on education. That's going to happen tomorrow, giving a sort of preview peek. He said yesterday schools have got to do more by way of technology and innovation. The governor contends more flexibility is needed for teachers and schools, and he's also saying he feels there are advantages to having teacher tenure and performance pay standards in place. Funeral today for Eric Zapata, the Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety officer who was shot and killed by a man last week. The suspect later killed himself. Officer Zapata's funeral will start at 11 this morning on the campus of Western Michigan University inside Miller Auditorium, and thousands are expected to attend, and from all over the country, hundreds of police officers will be there too. Along the funeral procession, streets will be lined with American flags. Florida Pastor Terry Jones is expected to be in court later today, appealing that ruling from last week that would not let him protest out front of a Dearborn mosque. Citing safety concerns, Jones was jailed and was let out only when he posted bond. And he was told to stay away from that mosque for 3 years. Reports have indicated he may have a protest soon, another one, this time in front of a Dearborn City Hall. Jones getting a lot of attention when he threatened to burn a Koran in 9/11. With news, I'm Gary Austin.
And I'm Michael Patrick Shields in the American Metal Roof studio. Find them at AmericanMetalRoofs.com and save up to 50% on your energy bills with an energy audit. Back in a flash. "15 minutes before the hour, Michael Patrick Shields, heard all across the state of Michigan, and very glad to have you with us. We also have with us this morning Nancy Kane from AAA Michigan. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael Patrick. How are you?
Good. Let's just say I'm listening to the radio in Alpena right now, okay? And I've decided to get in the car and drive all the way to Grand Rapids because the 1913 room is going to serve its last meal today. How much is it going to cost for dinner and the gas to get there and back?
Well, that's a good, I'll have to do some suffering, but the answer will be for the gas part, too much.
Yeah.
You know, we just checked, our fuel gauge came out this morning, Michael Patrick, for the first time now since the fall of 2008, we're over the $4 mark on average. We're at $4.04 this morning.
$4.04.
A lot of people are going to be crying.
You got to remember that's an average, too, so some people are charging more than that, up to $4, what, 17 cents, $4.19, something like that.
Yep,
And,
exactly. And it'll break your heart. It's, you know, gas prices are up $1.20 a gallon from the same time last year. So we're paying a lot more to get in our car and go drive to the 1913 room.
Yeah. Now, what about the 1913 room? Tell us a little, if you can, about its distinction and its history, and we're going to miss it. It shuts down today.
Oh, we are going to miss it. It's a wonderful hotel, and it had the distinction of being Michigan's only five-diamond restaurant. It's just a fantastic place. And unfortunately, if you haven't had a chance to get there, you are going to miss it. Just spectacular food, the decor, the service. Those are all the marks of a five-diamond restaurant, just the hallmarks. So just when you go there, you're not having a meal, you're having an experience. You know, fantastic food. They just wait on you. I mean, it's just elegant.
Do you know why they decided to close up?
Well, actually, to be honest, I don't. But obviously, it was a business decision, and they are going to reopen another fantastic restaurant in the same facility. So it isn't like there's not going to be another great place to eat. And you know, you and I have both been to Grand Rapids. There's no shortage of great restaurants in Grand Rapids.
Yeah, it's going to be a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, as I understand, which is
right. That's what I understand to be
it's a
too.
chain,
and those
but,
are
you know.
fantastic. But yeah, they're a chain, but like there's one in Troy, and it's really nice too. I have to say, it's nice. The food is great. The ambiance there is great. So I'm sure anything that would go into the Amway Grand Plaza would be top notch.
Got a number of good steakhouses and restaurants all grouped together there in Grand Rapids. Lewis Benton's, and of course the Chop House, and now Ruth's Chris, and goodbye to the 1913 room. Did you must have enjoyed a meal there at some stage?
We did, and in fact, this is going back probably 5, 6 years now. I can't remember exactly the year, but we hosted our 4-diamond luncheon there.
Yeah.
They were the first hotel and the only one that got a 5-diamond rating, and they were kind enough to put on the luncheon. And it was great. We invited all the media came, and it was really special. They just, the service. I just can't say enough about the service and how they wait on you, and whatever you want, they bring it to you before you know you even want it.
Well, in the words of Inspector Clouseau, not anymore. That's it
I
for
know.
today. All right.
I know it's too bad, but like I say, life changes, things change, and something, another good restaurant, Ruth's Chris, will reopen in the fall, and it'll be a great experience as well. But like you say, if you haven't been to the 1913 room, you're about to lose your chance.
Some things never change, though. Bob Seger, at 65 years old, is going back to Grand Rapids next month for another show. He's going to be performing May 28th at Van Andel Arena. Tickets will go on sale on Friday. And, rock and roll never forgets, right?
He puts on a heck of a great show. A few years ago, I went to Wayne State for graduation of a friend, and he got the honorary degree. And, he is a Detroit icon. Actually, you got to say he's a Michigan icon. People love his music.
Yeah. It was only a couple of years ago at the Buick Open. He played with Tiger Woods in the Pro-Am. And I remember at Warwick Hills there, when we used to have the Buick Open, somebody along the 18th fairway that lived there was blasting out Bob Seger music on their stereo in their house, and loud enough so that you could hear it all the way onto the golf course. And it was a good time. And now we don't have the Buick Open anymore. We still have Bob Seger, though, and we have a diminished Tiger Woods. And,
exactly. But again, if you get a chance to see Bob Seger before he decides to retire, and we hope he doesn't,
Yep.
A lot of these rock and roll icons, they keep going.
We'll see. You keep going, too. It's AAA Michigan, Nancy Kane, and we'll talk to you soon. Say hi to your sister, Carol.
I shall do. Thanks, Michael Patrick. You have a good day today.
Thank you very much. That's Nancy Kane with AAA. She says drive safely and buckle up, though most people in Michigan do. Stocks were mixed on Wall Street Monday. Investors waiting for earnings report from big companies like Coca-Cola later this week, and they're also waiting for the outcome of the Federal Reserve's monetary policy meeting. The Dow was 26 points lower. The S&P fell 2, and the NASDAQ gained 6 points. Katie Couric's run with CBS may be drawing to a close. She's expected to make an announcement about exiting the CBS Evening News today. Insiders say she's going to make a low-key confirmation of her departure. It won't be anything major, just a brief acknowledgement that, in fact, she's leaving. She's anchored the CBS Evening News since 2006. Prior to that, she was the host of the Today Show, and there's some talk she's going to start her own daytime talk show. We're saying goodbye, at least from a CBS standpoint, to Katie Couric. Rima Fakih, the Miss USA from Dearborn, who was on the WWE Tough Enough show, got kicked off the show yesterday. I saw it just before 9 o'clock. Stone Cold Steve Austin told her, yeah, you're beautiful, you got a lot of heart, but your body is letting you down. And she didn't like it too much. I guess she was serious about being a wrestler, but he was serious about telling her, turn in your belt, the party's over. So long to Rima Fakih. I don't know what she'll do now. I mean, she still is Miss USA, but she is not tough enough to be in the WWE. We'll get a sports report for you. Is Jim Tressel going to stay at Ohio State? And what's the state of Michigan going to do with their surplus money? I'll tell you about that. And I got a nice card in the mail from Jim Nantz at CBS. He's looking forward to seeing us. We're going to be broadcasting live from the World Golf Hall of Fame inductions on Players Championship Week at PGA Tour headquarters. And he'll be with us on the 9th of May. So I get a nice card from CBS from Jim Nantz. More sports when we get back. It's Michael Patrick Shields live in the American Metal Roofs studio. Find them at AmericanMetalRoofs.com. Well, how you doing this morning? It's Tuesday, and here in the state capitol and other parts of the state, it's gray and raining. Have you had enough of it? I've had enough of it. I really want to see some sunshine. Let's hope it's coming soon. The Michigan State-North Carolina basketball game on an aircraft carrier on San Diego Bay on Veterans Day is going to be a tough ticket. Michigan State-North Carolina are going to play a game on an aircraft carrier on Veterans Day. So if you're a celebrity like Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson, two that are going to attend, or if you're among the 4,000 military personnel selected, come on board. But if you're real tight with either school, you might have a fighting chance. Otherwise, you're going to watch in front of a TV. That's the only way you're going to be able to see this game played on what's called a flat top at aircraft carrier. There will be no public access, no public tickets sold, and it's going to be just for the military. They're going to have about 7,000 fans set up on the flight deck, and if it rains, they'll move down to the hangar deck below. Each school is going to get 750 tickets, 400 to go to the coaches and participating in a clinic, and then the rest go to soldiers. So that's as it should be, don't you think? Michigan State is going to play in that game, and Mark Hollis, congratulations to everybody there at Spartyland for setting it up. And they're looking to make a multi-year deal. Michigan State has an option to play in the 2012 game, too, maybe against Duke. So maybe they'll do it, and they might even get the women involved, too. Maybe Ohio State, Notre Dame, something like that. Jim Tressel is in big trouble. The NCAA says he failed to deport himself with honesty and integrity when he lied about filling out a compliance form, and he let players play when he knew darn well they weren't eligible. We'll get some reaction from some OSU Buckeye graduates next hour. Tigers are in action tonight, hosting the Seattle Mariners, the first of a 3-game series in downtown Detroit at Comerica Park. And the Red Wings are back skating at Joe Louis Arena. Even Heinrich Zetterberg is practicing, but they don't know who they're going to play yet. The Wings are still waiting to find out if they're going to get Chicago, Nashville, or San Jose. San Jose advanced yesterday past round 1 of the NHL playoffs. We're going to talk politics with some state legislators next hour. Trust me, that's not as boring as it sounds. It'll be fun because we got some hot topics for you. And the NFL draft is later this week. I'm Michael Patrick Shields, and it's Tuesday. Good morning, Michigan. A terrific Tuesday to you. It's Michael Patrick Shields, heard all across the state of Michigan. Politics is our family business, and we're going to get into it this morning. Here in our American Metal Roof studio is Wayne Schmidt, the state representative from Traverse City, the Republican. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael Patrick. Hope you had a great Easter.
Yeah, welcome back downstate.
Thank you.
And Frank Foster, also downstate from Pellston, the Republican state representative. Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir. The weather's lovely down here as well.
Let's heat things up, though. The weather is gray and rainy and cold, and we've had enough of it. So let's talk politics a little bit. Donald Trump, I know you love it when I start with Trump.
Thank you.
Now he says that the president is a poor student, shouldn't have been admitted into the Ivy League, shouldn't have been admitted into Harvard, and still won't show his birth certificate. And the state senator, in fact, from Hawaii, says the reason President Obama doesn't want to show the full birth certificate is the guy who is his father is not the guy everyone thinks is his father, and it's really getting ugly. So I asked John Truscott a little bit earlier if Donald Trump can actually contend for the Republican nomination by just throwing firebombs at Obama, and here's what he said.
Well, no, I don't think he can get the nomination by just launching pure attacks. But I will say he's probably one of the most brilliant marketers of our day. I mean, you look, everything that he says is broadcast and published everywhere. I mean, I don't know of anybody else in America besides maybe Oprah that can get this kind of attention for just making statements, some which may be legitimate and some may be pretty wild, but he does get the attention. But at some point when you run for president, the people want to know what you're going to do for them. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I guess if you use kind of a military analogy, what you're trying to do is soften up the opposition at this point. You can come through with the heart attacks and really put something forward that allows you to move forward and be aggressive and stand off.
You're fired.
Are you guys proud that Donald Trump considers himself a Republican, or have you had enough?
Personally, I've kind of had enough. I mean, we can question Obama's birth certificate and all the other things. The real fact of the matter is we need to question the policies and where this country's headed. President Obama's a smart guy. He obviously got to the presidency. Nobody's an idiot to make it that far. I'm sure he did well in school and all of that. We need to question the policies and where this country is headed. So that's, Trump can do what he wants. I want to get down to business.
Well, really, I think these attacks have failed. I mean, we knew this about President Obama before we got in the White House, and that didn't work. I think bottom line is when the budget keeps going unbalanced and when gas prices keep rising, the economy keeps going down, people don't care about who his father was. They care about their own lives.
Mississippi Governor Haley Barbour's decided he's not going to run for president. He said he doesn't have the fire in the belly for the 10-year commitment, so he will not be a candidate. Is that a loss to the party?
Well, I don't. It's he's chosen not to run for president. Is it a loss for the party? No, because I think he does well at so many other things in supporting candidates and moving the Republican ideas forward. So it's not a loss in that sense because he'll still be around and help out. So, there's plenty of other good people, and plus it's so early right now.
In case you didn't know who Haley Barbour is, he was the National Republican Committee chair for a long time, and also he's been in office in Mississippi for a number of years. Here's what he sounded like, for instance, with Chris Matthews on Hardball.
Is she qualified to be president?
Well, constitutionally, she sure is.
Speaking of Sarah Palin.
I tell you now, Chris, she is a lot brighter than she gets credit for. I served as governor with her for several years. I mentioned earlier, when it came to energy policy, she is very well informed, very experienced. I mean, she was an Alaskanites in Mississippi, and I would just see her at meetings. But I've never had anything but a very positive impression of her. Still do.
The latest Washington Post ABC poll has that 60% of the people say that she's not qualified to be president. Are you with the 60 or with the 38 who say she is?
Well, I've been in the minority a lot.
See what I mean? He's entertaining.
Yeah. I'll say she's a lot better looking than Donald Trump.
That's right.
Ron Paul, meanwhile, from Texas, the congressman is going to announce today that he's starting an exploratory committee, Houston area congressman. If you don't remember Ron Paul, here's a touch of what he sounds like.
Critics have called you racist, anti-Semite, and fascist. How do you respond to these criticisms?
Well, that's what they do when they don't want to hear my message. Anybody who knows me personally never says that. Those who put it in print never say, well, I heard him say something like that. Some of this, say anti-Semitism would come from the fact that I'm not for foreign aid, and of course Israel gets a lot of foreign aid. I don't want to give anybody foreign aid. And for instance, the Arab nations get 3 times as much foreign aid as Israel gets. So it's really a very pro-Israel position. And besides, I don't like arming both sides of conflicts. We armed Israel. Now we've just sent $20 billion worth of weapons to Saudi Arabia.
So that's Ron Paul. And you can see why some people might agree with him, given our economic situation in the States.
I mean, if we're talking federal policy here, foreign aid is such a small, it's less than 1%. The overall budget, I think it's even less than 0.5% versus wars. Sometimes it's a little more offense than defense on that one. But, my goal here is there's going to be lots of presidential candidates in the next 6, 8, 12 months coming out of the woodwork. My goal is right now, get Michigan's budget balanced. Get
Let's talk about
Michiganders
that,
back
then.
to work. That's what I want to focus on.
Looks like we're going to have a surplus after all. We got some more money than we thought. We found a 20 in our pants in the dryer, but it comes out to about $500 million.
Well, I think that's going to be true. The May Revenue Estimating Conference is coming up.
Is that a game changer?
I'm hoping that, and I don't sit on approps, and I don't think Representative Foster, I know he doesn't, but if we do have some extra money, I'm hoping we save it for a rainy day, because this economy is not out of the woods yet. Rising gas prices, other things could come along. I'd rather have a little, find that 20 and stash it than just spend it
Senator
willy-nilly.
Whitmer wants to spend it on education.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure they do, and the other side's going to cast balls on what we should do with that because we've been cutting to the bone, so to speak. But we should not treat that revenue like it's actually money in the bank right now. We should, if anything, we should be looking down the road to fall when the governor talks about infrastructure for this state and the state that our roads are in right now. So I think that money should either go down to paying down on some of the debt or, like Representative Schmidt said, let's put it away. We were doing fine before the May Revenue Estimating Conference, and now we get a little bit of a boom. I don't know if it's actually going to be $500 million, though.
What's the governor going to try to do with his education speech tomorrow?
I'm not really sure. I know moving some of the policies forward that we've talked about in our caucus, I think it is really truly reforming the education system. And again, just putting aside that $500 million or $400 or $300 or whatever it's going to be, let's make those reforms now. Let's make the tough cuts in the budget. Let's get it down to brass tacks here, and then decide we as a people and through the legislature what we want to put money back into as we turn this economy around. That's got to be the number one thing, getting people back to work, jobs. And as that happens, we'll see more revenue come in because people will be working. Then we can decide where we want to put that money.
2 state representatives who are working, Wayne Schmidt, Republican from Traverse City, Frank Foster, Republican from Pellston. Thank you. I'm Michael Patrick Shields.
Thank you.
That is the Ohio State Fight Song. I'm Michael Patrick Shields. Glad to have you with us on this Tuesday morning. And let's bring in some Buckeyes and Buckeye supporters here. We'll start with Dr. Greg Landis, a cardiovascular surgeon at the Total Vein Care Clinic and a Buckeye alum. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael.
Kevin Helm is on the other end of our line, too. He's the executive director of the Michigan PGA and a true Buckeye fan. Also wearing maybe he's still in his scarlet and gray pajamas this morning. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Michael Patrick.
Do the scarlet and gray pajamas have footies or no?
No footies and no hood. It's not like a Snuggie or whatever.
Okay.
They're just straight scarlet and gray pajamas.
Snuggie would be good. Now, Dr. Landis, no scarlet, no gray for you this morning. In
No,
fact, blue.
I'm wearing blue because I'm a little blue about the events that are happening at Ohio State.
Yeah, well, let's get to it here then. The Associated Press says that the NCAA, in a sharply worded rebuke of Jim Tressel, accused him of withholding information, lying to keep Buckeye players on the field, players who had accepted improper benefits from the owner of a tattoo parlor, of all places. They say that Jim Tressel permitted football student athletes to participate while ineligible, failed to deport himself with honesty and integrity, and said he was lying when he filled out a compliance form that said he had no knowledge that any of this was going on. Where do we go from here?
Well, I think the NCAA is probably going to hammer Ohio State, probably wipe out last year's season is probably what they're
Take away all the wins.
Take away all the wins. I think he's in a very difficult position for him to go out and recruit new kids, knowing that he's lied and did not do what he was, challenged and expected to do as a coach. I think he's in a difficult spot.
Do you think that he will lose his job?
I would think he would retire. I think he would just say, I resign.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to WTVN 610 out of Columbus every day on my computer.
Yeah.
And I listened to Earl Bruce yesterday, and basically, it comes down to if this was, John Cooper, he'd been long gone. But with Tressel, with only 22 losses in 10 years,
Yeah.
national championships, Big Ten titles 6 years in a row. I mean, that's what's making the difference, and it really shouldn't.
Kevin Helm, what do you think? Does Jim Tressel get a pass, or what's your opinion?
Boy, this is a tough one. I mean, I read that document as well, and it certainly does not sound good. And I think anyone that's aware of or knows Jim Tressel, and over the years he's done so many great things for the university and college football and the young men that have played for him, that you just don't understand how he could make this mistake. But I think it's obviously been admitted it's a mistake, and he knows he did not. While he did try to stop the situation from happening, he did not inform the right people, and he made a mistake, and he should be punished for that. Whether the 5-game suspension and a $250,000 fine is adequate for that, I don't know. It's pretty hefty, probably stronger than I've heard in any other cases. But it's just going to come down to how many points he's stored up with all the good that he's done over the years. And I agree with what the doctor said there. If it was John Cooper or someone who wasn't beloved and done as many great things for the university and the players, I'm not so sure it would have gotten to this point. I think it probably would have been either let go or retired sooner. It's a tough thing. I don't think any Buckeye fans are certainly not proud that this has happened, and it's totally out of character for what we've come to know from Jim Tressel.
Is it a mistake, or is it a lack of moral compass?
I don't know. That's directed at me. I think it's a mistake. I think people that know Jim Tressel and over the years all he's done, I think that's one thing that he's been consistent in. He is a very good person. I've heard him on the speaking trail. I've talked to him personally, and you hear players that have played for him and coaches that have coached for him. Consistently, it's more about life and what he teaches the young men as they go through college and the coaches that work for him. It's not all about football. And I do think he's a good man. I think he has a good moral compass, and I think it's a mistake. And, it's just, is that something is it too serious where he can be forgiven, after getting punished, or is it going to end his career at Ohio State? It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Remember, Dr. Landis, that's all Nixon did was try to cover up for his people.
Exactly right. And look what happened to him.
That's just what I'm saying. I've made those kind of mistakes, too, where you get caught, suddenly it's a mistake.
And in my business, as you know, in front of my patients, if a mistake is made, you come up clean right away. You do not, you know, put it under the covers. And it's just the way you should run your life, and the way you should deal with people and with coaches. That's the same kind of similar situations.
It sounds like this may be snowballed.
Yeah, it's going to get bigger and bigger.
You know, I don't know. I suppose it's a coincidence, but we talked yesterday with Mark D'Antonio, the Michigan State coach, and I'm going to play that tape in just a minute, in fact. But do you know where he was? He was getting off a plane in Columbus, Ohio. Now, I regret that I didn't ask him what he's doing in Columbus, but I don't think one has anything to do with the other. I mean, do you?
There's no rumors about getting a new coach, as far as I know.
Urban Meyer is the rumor that he would come to Ohio State. Would you like that idea?
I don't know. I think we usually do better when we have Buckeyes that are from the state of Ohio.
Isn't he from Bowling Green, though, originally?
I can't remember.
Yeah, Kevin Helmuth. Doesn't Urban Meyer have Ohio roots?
Urban Meyer he grew up in Ohio.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm a Bowling Green alum, and yes, he did a great job turning around that program. Well, I wouldn't say totally turning around, but they had more success, obviously, with him. I think they had one loss or so one year, and he's done a great job everywhere he's been. Now, there is some baggage, I guess, with his tenure there at Florida, and not with necessarily NCAA violations, but I know he had some players get in trouble, and and that's the tough thing. You know, the number of players and young men you recruit, you can't control them all the time, and it's how you deal with those problems.
They're lots more sophisticated these days, too, it seems, and so are the temptations, I would say. Thank you very much, Kevin Helm, Executive Director, Michigan PGA. Dr. Landis, if you're the president of Ohio State, does Jim Tressel still have a job?
I wouldn't think so.
No. Okay, Dr. Greg Landis, cardiovascular surgeon, OSU alum. Find him at the Total Vein Care Clinic here in the state capital area. I'm Michael Patrick Shields, back, as I mentioned, with Michigan State football coach Mark D'Antonio. Putting on the Answer Man hat, it is time for the Answer Man, brought to you by American Metal Roofs. You can find them at AmericanMetalRoofs.com. Gary Austin is the petitioner. That MPS has an answer for everything, they say, and my wisdom comes not always from the east, as this music would indicate. Sometimes it comes from parts south, and that's why I've never, ever been wrong.
Very good.
What is your question?
Trying to keep that perfect record intact.
We'll see.
And here we go. Number one, a House panel is questioning companies in connection with last week's report that smartphones may be doing what?
May be harmful to your health.
Yeah, close enough. Tracking their owner's whereabouts without their permission.
Listen, if your wife finds you, it will be harmful to your health.
That could be very harmful to your health. You're very, once again, Answer.
Or your husband. Let's not get one-sided here.
That's right. The Wall Street Journal reporting the House Energy and Commerce Committee has sent letters to 6 companies looking for info on their phones' tracking capabilities. And we understand these phones, they are so high-tech today, they can narrow it down right down to pretty much anything.
So, what is your next question?
Next, Facebook is launching a test run in its New Deal service today. It's called a New Deal service. What in the world is that, Answer Man?
It's some new technology, another wrinkle that Facebook has put in to show that they're not standing pat, they're actually advancing.
Yeah, I'll say. Combining online discount programs with social networking experiences, combining the two. Again, high tech makes it possible. Local businesses can advertise deals and send out coupons to Facebook users. That sounds okay. It's starting out just in California, San Francisco first, then on to San Diego, then Austin, Atlanta, and Dallas, but will likely be expanded to other cities soon, depending on how it goes.
One more question or two if you go fast.
Here we go. An announcement is expected today from Texas Republican Congressman Ron Paul. What's that announcement going to be, Answer Man?
He's going to form an exploratory committee and maybe run for president. And
yes,
he's going to do it in Iowa, in fact.
Yeah, Ron Paul, he's 75 now. Never mind the age. He's seriously considering this.
We can do one real fast. We can get one more in.
Oh, we got one more? One more? Okay, hey, Chevy's Volt and Nissan's Leaf, they're getting what?
Accolades.
You bet. Top grades for safety among plug-ins from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety.
Yeah, but they're the only 2 plug-ins, aren't they? Okay, so be
That's right. They're still getting the high grades, though.
Thank you. He's Gary Austin. I'm Michael Patrick Shields. Well, I am looking forward right now to speaking to State Representative Chuck Moss, the Republican from Birmingham. Representative Moss is the House Appropriations Chair, and he's on the other end of our line. I'm Michael Patrick Shields. Good morning.
Good morning, Michael Patrick.
I see that the state, it turns out, has more money than we thought. Something like a $500 million surplus. Is that what you're hearing?
Oh, it's possible. There may be a windfall from the May revenue estimates, which would be a good thing. But we can't bake into our budgets, hope that our ship will come in or that we'll win the lottery or something will come in better. We have to go with the information we know we have, and if it comes in better, great. But you got to look at that as found money, and not bake that into your budget. And if you want to use it for something that will pay down your debt or make your long-term position better, rather than to just eat it and swallow it and leave yourself in the worse structural problem than before.
That's no fun, though. It's like found money, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's what we've done for the last at least 4 years, is, evade making hard decisions because we suddenly found we had the stimulus money, or you find a little bit more, and then you get through this year, and then you don't worry about tomorrow. That's what we've been doing for years, and I think the results are pretty obvious. No, we've said that we're going to get this budget under control, and we're going to get our spending down, and we're going to get the whole thing organized, and we're going to do this on real numbers and not try to expect that we're going to win the lottery.
Senator Whitmer says with the education situation, that money ought to go right into the schools. What do you think?
Well, Senator Whitmer has it's not that. She wants to spend it on something else. But K-12 has to also restructure and reform. And you can't just keep giving money to K-12 because we have other needs in the state of Michigan. And K-12 public education is a need. But it's not the only need. We have clean water and roads and public safety, and we have to have jobs. Or those kids, we educate them and they go live somewhere else, like my daughters. Or their parents are unemployed. And you can't just keep feeding K-12 because K-12 can't be exempt. School aid fund's gone up every year, except for I think it was 2009. While other budgets have stayed static or actually gone down. So, it's tough to have to say to the schools no, but in the end, you don't do them any favors by letting them off and by not having them make the reforms that need to be made.
Well, we'll see what the governor says tomorrow. He's giving an address about an overhaul of the public school system in Michigan, probably very aptly timed because lots of people are talking about it these days.
We'll see what the governor does, but those things might end up being savings, or they might not. You can't count on them for your budget. I think in the long run they will be savings, but we don't know, and we can't expect that.
Let me ask you this. I got an email from a listener who is very interested in this education business. He says, separate out the portion of educational funding that goes to teacher benefits from that actually spent on education. Then we can make sure it's truly, quote, for the kids, as the MEA always claims, and not merely another Democratic Party pay to back union donors. What do you think of that?
Well, you can't separate.
Go ahead.
Well, you can't separate out labor costs from for the kids because you have to have teachers to teach the kids. The question is whether or not these labor costs are sustainable or affordable. And at least for some of our school districts, including ones I represent, it's General Motors all over again. You've got labor costs that are simply out of hand. So you can't just separate it all out and say that what doesn't go to teacher salaries is for the kids, because the teachers are for the kids too.
Can you make a reasonable comparison? I think you just did, between the auto business and the teachers union.
I did that last night at a public forum, and one guy got up and said, "Excuse me, I work for Ford. Let's follow. We can do a different model." But yeah, if you have such a large percentage, and I have two big school systems in my district, one it's 85% general fund to labor, the other it's 90%, and if you cannot control those labor costs and legacy costs, it's going to sink you, just like it did General Motors. And the defined benefit plans are simply going out all over the world or all over the country because they're not affordable. So yeah, you can only take in $10 and spend 10. You can't spend 12 forever.
Just because I know you love the Tigers and you love baseball.
I like the Tigers. I'm more of a hockey fan, so I'm...
Well, the Red Wings don't know who they're going to play next. At least the Tigers know tonight they've got the Seattle Mariners coming in, and Andy Hetzel from Blue Cross Blue Shield is on the other end of our line. And they are also having a play now about Ernie Harwell. Good morning, Andy.
Good morning, Michael. It's an honor to be with you.
Thank you. Have you had a sneak preview of the Ernie Harwell play?
I haven't. Opening night is Thursday, and I'm attending that. It's at the City Theater in downtown Detroit, and we're really excited about our sponsorship of Mitch Albom's play, Ernie. It's a tremendous honor, and it's a two-person show, and I think it's going to be a really creative examination of Ernie's life in baseball and what he meant to so many people here in Michigan. The Tigers hosted a special preview over the weekend that I did not attend, but I did talk to some people who went, and they said that it was very moving and meaningful to them. So I'm looking forward to Thursday night.
Well, for a while, Ernie Harwell was the voice of Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan as well, particularly when it comes to walking.
That's right, and on Friday, we're encouraging all of our customers across Michigan to get their employees out and walking. It's National Walk at Lunch Day. As we've talked about before, walking has many health benefits, and every year Blue Cross sponsors Walk at Lunch Day to encourage people to start adopting walking as part of a healthier lifestyle. And on Friday, we are actually hosting an event here at our tower headquarters in downtown Detroit. We have a mural that's painted in our tower building, and we're adding Mr. Harwell's image to that mural. We're also dedicating the walking track that's on top of our parking garage downtown. We have the second largest green roof in the state of Michigan here in downtown Detroit at Blue Cross, and as part of that, we have a walking track on our parking garage. We're dedicating that to Mr. Harwell as well on Friday. It'll be a very moving and meaningful day for us.
Boy, that's a great idea, and everybody be up early watching the royal wedding on Friday morning and be ready for a stretch of the legs by noon when they'll all be yawning that day. So it'll be
I suppose
perfect.
so.
Because you get energy from walking, do you not?
Absolutely. You get a lot of health benefits from walking. It helps maintain all of the good things in your body, your cholesterol, your blood pressure, helps you relieve stress. It's a great thing to do with your family to reconnect with people after your work day, and, you take your family out for a good mile-and-a-half walk around your neighborhood, and, it's got so many health benefits, and almost anyone can do it, so that's why we encourage people to adopt it.
So Friday is Take a Walk at Lunch Day, 30-minute walk if you can, and the Ernie Harwell play is on at the City Theater, and then, of course, as Blue Cross moves into their headquarters in downtown Detroit in the Renaissance Center, there's a big event next Monday for that as well. Representative Moss, what's on your docket today?
We're going to try and get our budgets passed out of appropriations this week. And
you are?
Keep them moving. Oh, yeah. Get them out, move them onto the floor, and keep it moving, keep on our track to get it done by June 1.
If they had skate at Lunch Day, would you be in on that?
Depends. It doesn't look like there's a lot of ice here, but I'll do it on rollerblades.
Okay. You don't do that, do you? You rollerblade?
Yeah, actually,
really?
I have. Sure.
Through downtown Birmingham?
Yeah, actually, you can. It's a lot of traffic there. There's some better streets, but I rollerblade to Dick O'Dow's, and I kind of fall down coming out.
How do you keep your cigar lit while you're rollerblading?
I don't do that.
Okay.
You can't.
Thank you very much.
I need my hands to catch myself.
We'll look forward to talking to you soon. And Andy Hetzel, of course, always something dynamic going on. That's why Tony Cuthbert plays the song Love is Blue out of your segment, and we'll talk to you soon. It's Michael Patrick Shields, Michigan State coach Mark D'Antonio. When we get back, he's green, not blue. 33 minutes after the hour, Michael Patrick Shields all across the state of Michigan. This weekend is the MSU football spring game, and guess what? No charge for parking, no charge even go to the game, and it's at 1:30 at Spartan Stadium, and you can have a big time watching the green play the white, and they also have a clinic, too, for you to bring your kids. You don't even need football gear and anything like that. Coach D'Antonio and his players are going to have an autograph session for the clinic kids. And they're going to do that right on the practice field next to the football building, the Duffy Doherty building. That's at Chestnut Road and Shaw Lane. So if you're coming from anywhere in the state, you do not need to register ahead of time. Children 8 through 12 are invited to attend a youth clinic. It's 10 a.m. till 11:30 on the green practice fields behind the facility there, and that gets it all started. It's a very fun sort of atmosphere for Michigan State football during the green and white game on Saturday. But congratulations to somebody at Michigan State who has secured a championship. The Michigan State women's golf team won the Big Ten championship on Easter Sunday. That's the third time Stacy Slobodnik-Stoll, the head coach of the Michigan State women's golf team, has done that, and the first time, though, since 2007. Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you, Michael. How are you?
Good. I've been thinking about the fact that I look out my window here in East Lansing, Okemos, and I say, I'm not going out there to play golf, and that it's not quite time yet. It's too cold and it's too blowy, but your girls have to go out there and face not only their opponents, but the elements, too, at this time of year.
Yes, and as everyone in the area knows, it's been a very interesting spring weather-wise, and I can assure you we have kept grabber hand warmers in business this spring.
Is that how it works? You hold like when you go skiing, those little bags that turn hot?
Yes, yep. They put little bags in their toes and in their hands, and it's illegal to put your golf ball in where the hand warmers are, but those really help keeping their hands warm, and it's hard to swing when their hands are cold, so we really utilize those hand warmers and hats and neck warmers, and it's been interesting, but we're very tough, and we played through all the elements all spring.
Luckily, these are limber young girls, unlike myself, who was like a creaky door. You know, I went out and walked 9 at Walnut Hills yesterday and got my feet all wet and that kind of thing. But and the news came through the club there, as I know you're a member and you play there very often. The news came through the club and everybody was ecstatic, particularly Kerry Campbell, who was going around telling everybody he could find.
Well, that's great, and certainly we cannot be successful without support from our fans and alumni and donors, and we're so appreciative that the community, it cheers for us and is excited. It's great. It's just a wonderful feeling to win a championship, and lots of tears, lots of smiles, and just a fun day. It's fun to be in the position to win, and then to actually be able to do it and win it's just an exhilarating feeling for the whole program.
Yeah, and when we talk about the one of the benefits of playing golf at Michigan State, coming to be on your team, is your practice facility there, and the golf courses at Forest Acres are just a huge boon for you, are they not?
Oh, they are, definitely. Our Fox putting green has been, this is our second year for a 20,000 square foot putting green, which has really just been very beneficial. We now have the heated stalls. We have the 36 holes. Our driving range on the south side of the actual public driving range. So we've got a lot going for us out there, and definitely it's an exciting time to be a Spartan.
When you're playing in Big Ten tournaments like this, is it like the Ryder Cup where you're in a cart and you ride around from group to group and give, not golf advice necessarily, but you give motivation? Is that how it works?
In a golf cart, though, we walk. We really don't like using golf carts.
Even
it's
you?
Even me.
Yeah, so but you got to flitter between group to group, right, and player to player,
Yep.
and show your support.
Yeah, well, we just walk, and we walk fast sometimes, and it just really depends what's going on. With 6 players and 2 coaches, it's difficult you can't be with everyone at once.
Yeah.
And for instance, yesterday I spent the whole day with Caroline and Lindsay Solberg, our junior, and Caroline is our sophomore, and Lauren, our assistant coach, walked with Amy, our senior, the whole day. So really, the other 3 players were on their own the whole day, and we're monitoring on our BlackBerries. So it's for everyone who is interested in golf. Golfstat.com has an awesome website that is updated every single hole the players play. They report their score in. So it's a live update, and so we're watching that. And if we see something happening that we don't feel comfortable with one of the players, we'll get to that player, and we're very aware of their personalities, and some of them don't need us. They just play, and some of them like our support. And yesterday we went through a little time period there where we were up 3 strokes almost all day, then we went down 5, and that was, Caroline was making that little move there where she struggled for a couple holes, and so I just stayed with her, and then our other players picked it up. Lindsay Solberg made 3 birdies in a row, which is just tremendous, and then one of the Purdue players tripled 17. So in a matter of 15 minutes, we went from down 5 to up by 1, and then up by 2, and then eventually up by 5.
Yeah,
so it's nerve-wracking, but it's awesome to hoist that trophy.
I bet. Where will the trophy be? Will it be on display at Forest Acres?
I think it probably is going to be at Forest Acres. I know Steve Ruthenberg is going to want it. I'm going to bring it to Jenison today for Mark Hollis and my direct supervisor, Greg Ianni, to see for a little while. And obviously the team wants their fair share of it as well. My 7-year-old asked me today if every girl was going to get to bring it to their home for a couple of weeks in the summer, so I was kind of thinking of the Stanley Cup, actually.
Yeah. Well, Olivia wants to take it to school probably, right?
Yeah. I bet she would like that. I had to drop her off this morning in a car that was shoe polished and white with Big Ten champs and all kinds of fun writing all over it. The girls that were at home and some of the men's team greeted us last night at the Rarick Center when we got home with balloons and signs, and it was awesome.
That's got to be the best thing in the world when you can walk into the office of your boss and say, "Here," and then just drop it on his desk and say, "Got you that one."
It's a good feeling. Conference championships, I always remember Coach Izzo saying, how hard they are to win, and no matter how good you are, they really are hard to win, and it's only 4 days. It's, we've been practicing all season, but still it comes down to 4 days to win your conference championship, and the conditions were challenging, and really everything has to go just right, and it just really was our weekend this weekend, and it just feels great.
Will you go out to the spring football game this weekend? Coach D'Antonio's on the line. He's joining us next.
He is. I'm not actually. Tonight we have our conference call to find out where we're going to be going for the NCAA regional tournament.
Oh, okay.
And then, so we're going to be practicing this weekend, and we're going to leave next Tuesday for the NCAA regional. So, even though I won't be there, I'll be there in heart with Coach D.
Boy, you get no rest. You win the Big Ten championship, you're off to the NCAAs. Is that likely to be a warm weather site?
Well, we've got three. There's three options: Notre Dame, Daytona Beach, or Washington. So one of the three could be warm.
Is that LPGA International in Daytona? Is that where you'll go?
Yes, which would be a great site for us because Amy Neff, our senior, is about to go on tour here when we're done with our season, and that's where qualifying school is. So that would be a nice boost for her to play that course for 6 rounds.
Hey, we'll keep our fingers crossed for a nice belated spring break at Daytona for the NCAAs. But congratulations on the Big Ten, and all the best to you and the team.
Thanks so much, Michael.
You bet. Stacy Slobodnik-Stoll, the Big Ten champion Lady Spartan golf team, and Mark D'Antonio, the football coach, will join us in just a couple of minutes as the spring game is this weekend. It's Michael Patrick Shields. Well, it's Michael Patrick Shields all across the state of Michigan, and we're feeling terrific about the Tigers these days. It was kind of a cold start for the Bless You boys, wasn't it? But now the Detroit has won 7 of their last 10, including a sweep of the Chicago White Sox. Phil Koch is going to go to the mound tonight. Tigers host the Seattle Mariners in the first of a 3-game series at Comerica Park. Bless you, boys, as Al Ackerman used to say. Red Wing captain Nick Lidstrom has been a finalist, now named for the Norris Trophy. That goes to the top defenseman. And the Red Wings, though they're practicing at Joe Louis Arena, still don't know if they're going to play Chicago, Nashville, or San Jose in round 2 of the NHL playoffs. They've had some time to just sort of relax and chill out, but they're back to practicing. And we're told that Heinrich Zetterberg, who missed the entire first round because of a sprained knee, practiced yesterday. So I think it's a good idea that he got to sit out. Nice thing that they won over the Coyotes in 4 games, and now it's back to business. Maybe not back to business for Jim Tressel, Ohio State's coach. The NCAA has said he failed to deport himself with honesty and integrity, and he was lying when he filled out a compliance form that said he had no knowledge of the violations of his players, and he put players on the field when he knew they weren't eligible. What happens to Jim Tressel next? The NFL draft later this week, Thursday, the first round, prime time on ESPN out of New York at 8 o'clock. And I got a nice card in the mail from Jim Nantz, the CBS sportscaster who calls the NFL for CBS, calls the Masters and the NCAA tournament. He said, thanks for the well wishes, and then a personal note about something that took place at the Masters. And then he said that he'll see me on the 9th of May, and you'll hear us and see us on the 9th of May. We'll be broadcasting live from the World Golf Hall of Fame inductions at PGA Tour headquarters in Jacksonville, Florida. And that is the week of Players' Championship, too. Jim Nantz will be with us, Dan Hicks from NBC, Ernie Els, and lots of other famous golf people, including Doug Ford, Bob Golby. You name it, the world of golf will be there, and so will we, because it's an important part of Pure Michigan. Television viewers, it's been nice seeing you and being seen by you this morning. Radio listeners, stay right here for another hour of politics, entertainment, sports, and fun. It's Michael Patrick Shields all across Michigan.